Hello there. I know this is not my usual content, but I decided to do this because, basically, a little while ago, I made a calculator in a site called Scratch. Um, so basically, I have this calculator here that calculates stuff, and it's just it has a bunch of different functions, and let me just boop. Okay, so you can type a bunch of numbers, and then we have, these are the basic set, plus, minus, yeah, you can't have two at once, but plus, minus, multiplication, division. I'm thinking of redoing that later. I think I know how to do that, but, bygones be bygones. And you do 52 and then equals 808. I don't know if that combination actually equals 808, but eh. And then, so we can have to the power of 2. So if you want to square something, we can have 9 squared equals 81. I know that one's correct. And then if we want to do a variable set to 5 right now, as indicated by this little variable thing. And so 5, and then you can do times variable. 5 times 5 is 25. And then we have square root, which means you can do the square root of 4, which, in case it doesn't know, it's just 2. It's pretty simple. And then we have this little thing. It's called factorial. So if you don't know what a factorial is, then basically, baby. Okay, let me restart. If you do something let's just do something simple like 3 factorial equals 6. So 3 factorial is 3 times 2 times 1. So you do 3, so it's basically n times n minus 1 times n minus 2, all the way to times 1. But you technically actually don't need to do times 1. So if you just do 8, and then I'm assuming that one's correct, the big number. But then down here we have second, which makes second true, and basically instead of doing the actual function here, it does the little blue stuff. So let's start here. We can just have, oh wait, I actually need to fix that one. It's supposed to be everything's working, but nope. Should be doing pi, but it's giving me 0. So, I'm probably just gonna leave this in the video, but it's supposed to give you pi. Who cares about that one? But this one, so let's just do 2, 6 times 52. And that gives us 1,352. And say we don't want to type that in again, we can just do second, A and S, and then it just immediately puts it in there, so it's easier. And then we can just divide by 6. I have no idea what the this is not going as well as I thought it would, but you're still probably watching anyway, so thanks. Then we have settings. So basically, we can change the color of the background. You can see it changing color by this color slider. It looks pretty cool. And we can also change the backdrop. There's a lot of different backdrops. We can just a lot of different stuff. And then you can do random backdrop if you want, and just have a random backdrop. Let's just do, this one is very pixelated, but space. And then random color. like that one. So it's like that, and then just close it, second settings, and then boom. And then you can have the power up. So if, say, we want to do 5 to the power of 3, which is, yes, 125. So that works. And then we have set variables. So the variable right now is 5. If we want to set the variable, we can do set variable and then 9, and then variable is equal to 9, and then we do variable is just 9, and then we can do like plus 6. Boom. And then we have summation. Summation is another one, just like this exclamation point, that not many people know what summation is. So basically, summation is like a thing where instead of multiplying each one like n times n minus 1 times n minus 2, it's n plus n minus 1 plus n minus 2 all the way to 0, but you really only go all the way to 1 because 0 doesn't add anything. So if we did like something like 6 second summation, we get what day? That's not working. 6 second summation. What is happening? Apparently summation does not work either. It's not going as planned. So basically, let's look at the code. So basically, this should be good most of the time, but just ignore some of these. So we have when the sprite is clicked, if second is true, do nothing. I have that for later, but none of these have second buttons on them. And if placement equals 1, so I have 2 different values. These are variables. So basically, this one's placement 1. This is placement 2. So if placement is equal to 2, set value to join value and 0, because this button's a 0 button, so it's joining the pre-existing value of something like 78 plus 0, so it's 780. And then second value, it's the same for all of these, like every single one of these. This one is like also the same, but it's just a tiny dot. It's just like a tiny little dot. And then we have the negative, which is slightly different. So basically, this one we have 1 sprite is second does nothing. But if placement equals 1, so if we're having like, first placement, set hidden value to value times -1, and then set value to hidden value. I probably honestly could have just done this with set value to value times -1. Actually, I am literally going to change that right now. So, wow, live changes in the action. That should be working because we just... second value. And then, this is how... So basically, we just do 5, -5, plus 6, negative. Okay. Yeah, no, that works. The more you know. And then if value equals 0, then just set the value to negative, because then it just joins them, and if it's equaling nothing, then it'll just not do anything. So if you want to put negative first, then you can just do like that. So, just a lot of stuff like that. And then we have plus. This one does have a second, but let's start with the placement equals, if it's not true. Placement equals 1, set function to plus, and placement equals 2, set placement to 2. So basically you do like that, and then set the function, this is a function, and it makes it set 2. So if after you do 78, instead of adding like a 9, instead of 789, you'll just add 9 to here. So basically that's what it does. And second, just say error. I'm thinking of actually changing this, and instead of doing that, just completely replacing, like, and just set function. Yeah, let me actually do this. Boom, duplicate, and then just boom. I'm doing live coding on the fly. So if we do something like 5, 6 plus 8, oh wait, this is a bad example. What if we do 5 minus 6, but we actually want to do 5 plus 6 just to plus again, then I'll change it. So all these, so these other ones function the same, but, oh, and then when the second is true. Let me do this one. If settings equals false, then set settings to true, and if setting equals, setting equals true, setting false, so it's basically the switch flop. Then you can also have broadcast settings, which will, show the settings variables and buttons. And then you set second to false because we don't want the second to keep being on. And then we have the equals, which is the most beefy one. This one is a relic of the past. But so basically when the spray is clicked, I have nothing for second yet. But okay, so if we have if placement equals 1, so if it's like, it says we have to like duplicate all, if we have the first placement, second one, but basically set answer to value, but because if there's like only one placement, we just set the answer to value, but everything else for placement equals 2. If function equals plus, so if there's a plus sign here, set value to a value plus value. There's already a bunch of systems, so we have plus, minus, multiply, divide. The one that gets interesting is like 1's to the power of. Then we set, you start with set hidden value 2 to value, and then set value to hidden value 2 times value, and then set hidden value 2 times hidden value, and then set answer to hidden value. It's like, it's a whole, because we have to repeat this. We're basically multiplying it times itself the same times the second value minus 1, because like I was talking about, so if you think about 2 to the power of 1, just 2. So instead of 2 to the power, if we did it just second value, then I would make it 2 times 2, which is 4, which is 2 to the power of 2, not 2 to the power of 1. So we have to minus 1, but basically keeps on multiplying it until it's done repeating. And it's the power of 2, just set in value. It just multiplies itself by itself. I could probably do this better, but I've already done enough of that. Square root, they just have a square root function. There's actually like quite a bit of this, floor, ceiling, different like rounding functions, but I put square root in this slot of things. Then this is short for summation. It's just SMNT, but it's short for summation. And basically set answer to value times value plus value divided by 2. So this might seem completely random, like how does this like set to summation? But like basically so let's just think about like 6 summation. 6 summation is equal to 6 plus 5 plus 4 plus 3. Who cares? Like, okay, let's just do 4 summation. 4 plus 3, which is 7, plus 2, which is 9, plus 1, which is 10. And then if we think about 4 times 4 equals, 4 times 4 is just 8, and then 4 times 4 is 16, and then plus 4 is 20, and then 20 divided by 2 is 10. I can do math. So basically, this always equals to the value summation. It does not make, it might not make sense, but there's probably better YouTube videos to describe that, but basically for now, it just works. Like, it just works. And then a function equals variables that, it's variable, and then, they call it the explanation point. Basically, it's the same as this, but you set instead of -2. It's like the same as summation, but except -2, and then we did hidden value to hidden value, 2 times value. And then we have all of these just reset these ones, because when we have an answer, they go blank like that. So yeah, the equal sign, pretty complicated. Then we just have minus sign, and then, multiplication, which same as this, but for second, we have, if placement equals 1, set value to answer, and second value to answer. It's not that interesting for the multiply, because it's just A and S. And then pi, I don't know why this one was not working. So basically I was just gonna multiply them, set value to value. Oh, I know why it wasn't working. So basically you already have to have something, so 1 second pi, and then that's pi. I just did that wrong. It's a approximation of pi. That is nowhere near long enough, but it's supposed to be about pi copied a bunch of values. So that's how pi works. But I find it weird that it's multiply. Yeah, I can fix that later, but yeah, basically that's how it works. And then for second, just set second to false or true. Then we have power of 2. It just shows, that one's not that interesting. This one's just variables. Set function to this one's also not that interesting. It's pretty simple. Square root is just all that's handled in the equal sign, and all this handled in the equal sign. And then we have random color and random backdrop and all that. So these just send out signals and all that, and show and hide. And you might be wondering, how do we actually change the backdrop? Well, there's code specifically for the backdrop. This is segmented. This one is always setting color to affect variable color, and switch backdrop to a backdrop 2, because I only have 50 backdrop, and the slider's always on 1 to 100, which I wish I could change, but if we just look at settings, it's always 1 to 100, because we have 82, 81, and 82 are the exact same. It's hard to scroll, but you get the point. So basically, and then we have this one, settings, just show the different variables, and then it just switches the random backdrop to 1 to 100, 1 to 100, just pretty simple. This one just clears out everything when you click the flag, so if you just need to reset stuff, just click the flag. Reset most things except the variable, because the variable stays, but we set the answer, and it's just a bunch of stuff. Just a bunch of stuff, Set second to false. I'm doing this very rush, if you couldn't tell, so I don't know, I just got a video to put out on Rent Party or something, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's actually pretty interesting, but if I did this at a lot slower, describing this, it would take really long. And also this is really long and buggy, but basically when the third key is pressed, we just set the value to, so basically these are a bunch of different keys, so if I press 6, just put 6 in there, 9, 0. You can't actually see me pressing these. It even works on the number piece, but yeah, you can't see me doing that, but I am. Trust me. And then yeah, so we have all of those 1, 2, and then we also have space key, which sets second to true. So if you press space, second false, true, false. Yeah, basically that's pretty much it. But then also, if we see project page, Cabbage Man Studios, I just like how, yeah. But basically, this is just, as far as I know, this is the best calculator on Scratch. Having tons of features and constantly getting updates, even though I haven't updated in like a month, but I was getting updates a lot. And these are versions 1.0, just basic calculator, number buttons, negative button, division, multiplication, subtraction, addition, no decimal yet. I was being stupid with decimal, overcomplicating it. The code back there was a spaghetti mess because I was doing, instead of just adding them, I was completely just like doing thing where I was multiplying the original value by 10 and then adding a new value, and I didn't know how to do that with decimals. It was going to be so complicated until I learned about the join feature. It just made it easy. And then I had squares, and slight bug fixes. I don't know what bugs I actually fixed, but I don't know. And then 1.1.1 adds the answer key and square root key, and also minor bugs fixes again, apparently. 1.1.2 adds exponentials, like x power of x, and then adds the second key for extra functions. Ooh, because before that there was no second key, so the ANS had its own key and wasn't second on the X. 1.1.3 adds factorials, the little explanation point, and the first 100 digits of pi, so that's when I added pi. 1.1.4 overhauls the number code, like I was talking about, and also adds decimals, which are pretty important. The only other way you get decimals before was using pi or division. So yeah, like 1.2, another major update, minor graphical changes, adding a variable and second indicator, so you could see like if the second was true or false, and also what the variable was. Minor bug fixes, extra 0 when typing number indicators disappearing, so basically like and when you're typing like numbers, sometimes they would have the 0 appear before the number and it just didn't look good. And variables and set variable buttons, so you have variables now. And then 1.2.1 adds space key to activate the second function and adds number keys to type numbers, and also adds a summation button, which is apparently not completely working. I don't know. 1.3 adds a settings page and the color slider, so new settings. And 1.3.1 I can read. Rehauls settings page and adds backdrop slider with 27 new backdrops, 28 total, because the original backdrop was just white because, I need a backdrop. And then 1.3.2 fixes the negative button. I don't know what it fixed, but I think before I was just joining a negative button, so then if you hit a number and then hit negative, it would look like 7 negative and rather than -7. So yeah, and then it has 1.3.3 adds 22 new backdrops, meaning there's 50 total backdrops, and makes the backdrop slider easier to adjust. Because I was doing the divide by 2, that's really just subjective. Easier to adjust. And 1.3.4 adds a random backdrop button in settings. 1.3.5 adds a random color button and fixes the bug where random backdrop button wouldn't switch to all of the backdrops. I don't know what that was about, but So yeah, that's my calculator. Give me any feedback and bugs you wanted. It's called The Best Calculator, colons on Scratch, and then right now it's version V, not 1.3.5, but actually by the time this video is like released, or actually a bit after, I'm probably going to be on version 1.4 because I can get bug fixes like I shown on this video. So yeah, thanks for watching this little Scratch project. It's a little passion project of mine. If you got any ideas, just post them in the comments below and look at my thing, like it, and just, yeah. Thanks for watching this very nerdy and niche video.